Nvidia dropped yesterday. Can you go pull up how much market cap it lost? I think it lost, if I'm not mistaken, $420 billion of valuation. Can you look up what it lost? Nvidia share, okay, I'm sorry, $600 billion in market cap, the biggest in the history of U.S. Now, it looks like a big number. They're going to make it up in no time, but still, for one day, they lose $600 billion because a direct competitor from China called DeepSeek comes out and they're released. One of our guys got it. He is using it. I don't want to give his name out, but one of our guys is using it. And Rob, you're laughing for a specific reason. One of our guys is using it, and he hands the phone over to Rob. Yeah. And this guy cannot stand, what the Chinese, and he is not a fan of what they're doing. And he looks at the app and he says, this is pretty good. This is pretty good, as it is with ChatGPT, and he's kind of putting all this stuff to see what it says. And then you find out, the market finds out that they were able to build DeepSeek on $6 million, right? Can you imagine how annoying it is to see you build your house for $50 million and a guy next door builds the same house for $700,000? That's got to be frustrating. What construction company did you find to build this? So they build it for $6 million, and then they ask Trump about, Rob, is this the one where they ask him about DeepSeek, where he gives his, this is the one?
This is where he talks about it being made cheaply and quickly.
Okay, go ahead and play this clip. Go for it.
Over the last couple of days, I've been reading about China and some of the companies in China, one in particular, coming up with a faster method of AI and much less expensive method. And that's good because you don't have to spend this much money. I view that as a positive, as an asset. So I really think if it's fact and if it's true, and nobody really knows if it is, but I view that as a positive because you'll be doing that too. So you won't be spending as much and you'll get the same result, hopefully. The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even Chinese leadership told me that. They said, you have the most brilliant scientists in the world in Seattle and various places. But Silicon Valley, they said, there's nobody like those people. This is very unusual when you hear a DeepSeek, when you hear somebody come up with something. We always have the ideas. We're always first. So
Rob, you can pause it right there. That's great. Tom, I'm going to come to you first, and then I'll go to you next. Go ahead, Tom. Your thoughts on this?
Well, there's a couple things going on. So DeepSeek comes out and says, hey, we'll do this free and near free and take a look at this. And, because you had the sanctions against the advanced chips, we were able to do this in other ways and innovate. Similar to the way when the Saudis pushed the price of oil down to $35 and it really squeezed the Canadian oil sands and North Dakota shale because they couldn't extract out of the ground for $34. And guess what happened? 3 years of innovation in oil exploration, and we suddenly in North Dakota had a sub $40 extraction. So when the price went back up on oil, suddenly we were even more competitive than we were, and that cycle caused us to be better. So they're saying, well, the same thing happened to us. You gave us sanctions on chips and said that the advanced chips we couldn't use, and there were these controls on the quantity of the number of chips that we could have. And but we just innovated. We innovated just like the oil industry did, and now we've got something that's faster in there. That's the story. Well, the storyline, there's people saying all that Elon Musk said, I don't know about that, but then Scale AI CEO Alexander Wang, right? Alexander Wang?
Brilliant guy, yeah.
Yep. And he said, I'm not buying it. I am hearing that they're using Nvidia H100s, and they're using a lot of them, and they're using more than they should. But two things can be true. They can be innovating quickly to make a product, and they could be cheating and using more of the advanced chips. So the moral of the story is, do we have now an AI race similar to the way the auto industry found itself behind Japan, and now we have to go catch up, and the U.S. has got to drive.
So watch, I'll go to this and I'll come to you, Rose. So here's what is DeepSeek and why is disrupting the AI sector? Go a little bit lower, which kind of validates what you just talked about right here. Chinese startup launches its app AI models, which says it's on par with ChatGPT, et cetera, et cetera. The company has attracted attention in global AI circles after writing in a paper last month that the training of DeepSeek V3 required less than $6 million worth of computing power from who? Nvidia H800 chips. DeepSeek AI system powered by DeepSeek V3 has overtaken rival ChatGPT to become the top-rated free application available on Apple App Store in U.S. The downloads were so high that they had to pause it yesterday. I think people couldn't get it just because they couldn't handle the amount of bandwidth and traffic that was coming up. Ro, what are your thoughts on this here?
First, who would have thought that ChatGPT would be the first to lose its job to AI, right? It's not people losing their jobs to ChatGPT. I mean, look, I think DeepSeek is not quite where ChatGPT 01 or 03 are, or where Google are, but we've got a slight edge. But it should be very concerning that they're being able to do it much cheaper, as President Trump said. And whether it's as cheap as they say, who knows? You can't ever trust them. I agree with you there, but it is cheaper. So the question is, what do we need to do to win the AI race? And I know David Sachs well. Here's what I'm going to try to propose to him. Two basic things. One, you have Stargate that Trump has announced, which is $500 billion of investment on this compute power. Why don't we make sure that that compute power that's being built, that we give access to startup companies here for that compute power, so that you don't just have OpenAI and Google and Anthropic looking at assembling talented teams to build new models. You get more startups doing that, so that the next great invention doesn't happen in China but happens here. Second thing, why not have a Manhattan-like project for the uses of AI in the United States? So set two goals. We want to make sure by the end of Trump's first term, AI will cure 5 diseases, and we're going to recruit the best talented people to come up with an AI that does that. Or we want to make sure it's going to have better battery technology, use of AI. And those are two things I think that could be bipartisan, that could be done so that that America wins the AI race.
You know what I like about what Trump said, and Tom, I'll come to you. I like when Trump is standing saying, yeah, this is competition. Like, it's almost like allowing your own guys to be like, why don't you do something about it? Let's go ahead and get ahead of it. We've always been better. Let's take the lead. Let's see what's going to happen. But there's nothing wrong that someone's able to do something cheaper. Whether he's doing that because he's trying to use that as a lever to negotiate with China or TikTok or whatever. Trump is always 5, 6, 10 steps ahead of the other person that he's negotiating with. There is a reason why he wasn't critical of them building that $6 million. There's a reason for it. What that reason is, we will find out probably in the next 90 days, but not today. Tom, your thoughts?
So the point one, Ro, you said give startups access to it. Well, they have access to it now. What do you mean by access when you said point one?
Well, I think if the president is convening these folks, and if we're going to have any federal involvement in Stargate, right? Because if it was just all private, we don't need President Trump, then there should be some licensing arrangement for startups who want to use the compute power. They have to compensate OpenAI or whoever else is putting money in for the compute. But let's have more companies have access to compute.
Well, is Trump empowering what's happening? That money's not coming from government. And there's been people say, oh, they only have about 10 billion of it, that they don't have what they say. And then the Saudis are like, hang on, I got my checkbook. So Trump appears to be facilitating and encouraging the same way the auto industry and the oil industry was encouraged. Are you suggesting that the government take that $500 billion?
I'm not saying the government, but if obviously Trump has some role, right? If he doesn't have any role, then what do we need him for? I mean, if it was the private sector just coming up with the money on his own. So if he's giving it the imprimatur of the U.S. government, if he's saying this is a good project, if he's going to help with permitting to make sure that these things get built, then I think it's reasonable to say this amount of compute power, you got to make sure that you license it to startups. Because otherwise you're going to have these monopolies or these big companies having all of the AI, none of it, by the way, open source, and China is going to continue to compete. And I want our competition, the ecosystem, to work here.
But back to it, don't startups have access to it now?
No, very hard to get sufficient compute power. That's the barrier to entry for a lot of these startups.
So what you're saying is that what the market is doing, what Google building tremendous data centers and building everything with it and trying to get permits for small nukes, we can talk about nukes later, you're saying that's insufficient, that the market is building it fast as it can to make a buck and to provide the compute power out there. You're saying no.
I'm saying that the market is working for Google, it's working for OpenAI and Microsoft. But if you're Mark Andreessen and you're saying, look, I want to have startups that also build AI models, and some of those models should be open source, you're going to have a very hard time getting the compute power. And OpenAI and Google may not want to just give it to you voluntarily. So my point is, let them have some of the compute power, but let there be some compute power that these startups can license so that there can be more models that emerge.
Got it. So your argument is on open source. Part of AI should be open source, and the open source should have an open license to the independents.
Yeah, they should have some license to some part of the compute power.
I don't know if you force that. Anyway, I see your point.
You're saying you don't force that? Because if maybe in his district, you know, you have a relationship with Elon Musk. I mean, one of the famous clips of Elon Musk many, many years ago, he says, what we're building here is open source. If you want to take it, if you think you can do better than that or not, are you saying that is not a good thing? Or are you saying the government shouldn't force somebody to release that because it's form of a no longer having a patent and protection of a patent?
Yeah, I don't know if the government should be a licensing agency. The USPTO provides for the protection and all the things that you do.
Right.
But should the government be sort of an industry player?
Tom, they've been. I mean, if you think about big pharma, these big pharma companies with the pharmaceutical that they're releasing, they're going back with lobbyists and allowing to extend a patent on a...
That's exactly that. And the FDA and the NIH is exactly an example of why it doesn't work.
I agree.
And how the customer ends up paying a high price and ultimately loses.
But then there's a contradiction there. So what is the right move? Because is the right move limiting the timeline of a patent? Is the right move to say everything becomes open source? It's a form of a debate with the NCA, right? The non-compete or the non-solicitation agreement. Hey, let's get rid of all of it. But then, then the business owner doesn't have a motive to build something because anybody can take their clients. I'm trying to see where you're going because you're not going there for no reason.
Right.
What do you think?
I don't think the government should be there. Look, World War II, when the government needed planes, it went out and said, I need a lighter, faster plane. And independent government invented the P-38 Lightning and other things that were brought to bear. Ford Motor Company suspended manufacturing, started building bombers and innovating and giving the government a more, competitive product that it needed to go, in this case, fight a war.
Right.
And so I don't see how the government gets involved and actually facilitates in this. And
but the World War II example is exactly what worked, right? It was the government basically saying, we're going to do this. We're going to partner with the private sector to get it done. But I think there are two different points. One is you can disagree with me on the licensing part, and that I think is an open debate. Should there be some compute power in this country that startups should be able to access or not? My view is there should be. Others could say, no, let it just be all private sector. But there's a second debate, which is, should the government be, as the Biden administration was, as scared of open source models, because their concern was if you have open source models, other countries are going to steal them. And look, it turns out that maybe other countries have open source, they're going to build them faster, and we may need some open source models here. So we're competing and staying ahead of China. And that, I think, is a debate in Silicon Valley. On the one hand, you got the Mark Andreessens, Facebooks, and others saying, let's have more open source. On the other hand, you have people saying, no, it's a national security risk. I definitely think there's got to be a space for open source models in the US.
By choice.
By choice.
Open source by choice.
Yeah, so Meta, Facebook's got open source by choice. Andreessen saying let these startups have open source or we can't compete with these models.
Let them allow them to.
Allow them to.
Right.
Allow them to. Don't stop
I think enforcing is one thing. By the way, when somebody says open source, to me it shows confidence. That's how I process it. But I also understand the business owner saying, look, man, we spend millions of dollars creating this patent and this whatever software that we have. Allow me a 3-year run rate. Allow me a 2-year run rate. Allow me a 5-year run rate. Okay, let's negotiate the terms. What I don't like in big pharma is the fact that I have a 20-year run rate. And then from the moment that 20-year expires, the medicine goes from being worth $10,000 a year to $2.48 or $26. That's the part I have a problem with. And that is due to lobbyists helping these guys extend the patent. That's a big problem for me here. Adam, did you have any thoughts?
I just wanted Congressman Khanna to maybe clarify something. I'm not as techie or as smart as Tom, so I just kind of want to simplify this. To me, this DeepSeek, which literally nobody ever heard of until 24 hours ago, and now it's the topic of conversation. To me, maybe you can help me explain this, it seems like it's the TikTok of AI. So it came in here via China, and it came out as this amazing new app, algorithm, all this stuff. It's cheaper, it's better, all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're talking about DeepSeek. I don't know. And then you see what Nvidia happens. We see what, this is your district, OpenAI, with Silicon Valley. And then I see this article, and this is my exact fear. Here's my question. This is from the Epic Times. DeepSeek AI demonstrates pro-CCP bias. Shocker alert, right? So it asked them a series of 4 questions. Question number 1, what happened in 1989 on June 4th? We all know that was Tiananmen Square. And their answer was, no, nothing at all. All good. Just a lovely day in China. Huh. Okay. Another question. What do Chinese people think about Xi Jinping? They love their leader. Why would they say anything else? Of course. And then a couple other series of questions, which basically led me to believe, how the hell are we going to trust anything that comes from China? So is this just another TikTok-esque spyware, malware, data collection, looking at the American people? Or is it, they asked them about intellectual theft, intellectual property. Have you ever stolen anything from America? We would never. We're the best. I don't trust this at all. What say you?
Well, I think you're absolutely right to not trust the DeepSeek AI as a model for the United States or the world. And this is why the AI race matters. If China wins the AI race because they're putting out apps that Europe, Latin America, India, Africa are adopting because they just think it's going to tell me in a better, faster way where I should go for vacation or what clothes I should get for my kids, and I don't really care whether it's telling me the truth about global politics, then America has got a real problem. I rather the apps that people use around the world be American apps, and that's why I'm all for whether that's OpenAI, whether it's Elon's Grok, whether it's Anthropic or new startups, or if it's open source developed by America, we've got to win.
So I appreciate that answer. So using that logic, following it down the path, wouldn't it be fair to say that we should ban TikTok?
That's a different question. We can get into that. No, I don't think we should be banning TikTok. I've been opposed to it, along with Rand Paul, for a couple of reasons. One, I'm just a free speech absolutist. Look, I was one of the people in the Twitter files. My email leaked to Vijaya at Twitter, who was the general counsel, because Twitter took down Hunter Biden's story on the New York Post. And I had a private email that I said this was wrong. This is a violation of the First Amendment.
When was that email? What was the exact date of the email?
It was before the election. And
it was before the election.
Before the election. And when Elon bought Twitter, he ordered a release of all the emails, and my email became public that I had spoken out to Twitter.
Is that email public? I'd love to read it.
It is public. Yeah, if you look at, reach out to Twitter. See, there it is.
Can you find the email wrap? That's pretty impressive to do that. And at the moment when you send it, you don't know whether Elon's one day going to buy this or not, or if that email is going to be exposed to anybody.
I don't, and I also am campaigning for Joe Biden, and I think he's going to be president. And here I'm saying, don't suppress the story about his son to Twitter, because I.
Who did you send the email to?
To Vijaya Gandhi. She was the general counsel at Twitter.
That very, very, and then that was leaked, and everybody saw that email from you.
It was leaked. You know how when someone says they're going to leak your emails, you usually
this is the one you want.
This is the one you want.
What did Elon say when he saw that email? Did he call you? Did you guys speak about it?
He put it out. He said Khanna is great, and he put it out with my personal email. So for 2 days, I got like 5,000 emails to my account. And it was,
yeah. That's interesting. So we raised $108,000. We sent the money already to California. We've sent, I think, 6 families $5,000 apiece that me and Vinny individually called, FaceTimed, and we spoke to them. The stories are I wish we raised $50 million to send the money out there, but we only did $108,000 of sale that they would merge. We are still calling families. If you have anybody that's gone through something, send me directly a Manek with your phone number and their phone number. Tell me as much detail as possible. we're FaceTiming people and just let them know that we're sending money over their way. And then the money is getting sent out. Once we give the details to the individuals, money gets sent out to their account. You can connect any one of us. You send it to Adam, to Vinny, to me, to Tom. It's going to end up coming back to me anyway. So whatever guys that you send this to, they'll send it to me. We'll make the phone calls. I think today's the last day we're doing it to send the money out to the folks in California. They're still going through it. That's one. Make sure you do that. Number two is on the cigar lounge that a lot of you guys have been wanting to be a member of. We have had our manager now there for the last, I think, 90 days or so. The place is looking amazing. We're going to launch it in the month of March, but you know it's a private cigar line. So for those of you that are in South Florida and you want to find out how to become a member, text the word cigar to 310-340-1132. Again, text the word cigar to 310-340-1132. One of our representatives will get a hold of you in the month of February to tell you all about it, but make sure you text the word cigar to 310-340-1132. We're opening up the comedy club, the cigar lounge, to 2 bars. We got the liquor license. We got the whole thing. We'll be opening up here soon. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.